Welcome back to Tech Visa, first episode of the year. What a way to kick off 2026. Lots to cover. If you are interested in all the latest Australian immigration updates, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Nice.
Let's do this. Lots to cover today. I want to go over some migration trends.
Yes.
So what we've been seeing from Jobs and Skills Australia, what's actually translating into reality versus theory. I want to have a look at the National Innovation Visa. It's obviously been a bit of a slow start to the year. Let's have a look at some 190 and 491 allocations for this financial year as well. Have a look at some processing times and then some updates around Bridge and Visa Bs in association to 186 visa applications.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, so let's kick things off with the Jobs and Skills Australia report that came out recently. We've seen a decline in shortages within the ICT occupations, but not necessarily what we've seen in reality. So I just want to get your thoughts on what the Jobs and Skills Australia report is versus how this correlates to what we see on the core skill occupation list.
Definitely. JSA, which is the Job Skills Australia, have been sort of authorised by the department to kind of go, you go out there, you tell us about the employment shortages, speak to industry bodies, speak to employment sort of organisations and come back to us so that we are more informed on when we make changes to the occupation list. Before immigration occupation list was quite static, it was just the same for many, many years and there was not much happening. But since the department decided to kind of do those multi-year planning, that they decided to sort of involve JSA.
Okay.
So they've been kind of going out there actively. They're going to consultation with certain industries. When the list changed significantly in December 2024, there were certain occupations that were impacted. So more consultations have happened in 2025 and certain industry bodies have advocated for, because one of the reasons why certain occupation got removed was because they said there was no industry representation, there was no noise, there was no need clearly identified by JSA. Therefore, they went to the government and said, no one came to us about this, therefore probably not needed anymore. Now they're saying, look, it's a more consultative approach where they get industry bodies to come back and say, yes, there is a need. And then JSA then would do a shortage or no shortage list to kind of guide the Australian government as well as businesses and that lots of us that work sort of in the immigration space. Because it's more informed, it is better in the sense that there is a way to advocate and to get occupations back on the list if a certain occupation have been removed and it's impacted that specific industry significantly. Just because those reports are out there or the shortage lists are updated, it doesn't mean that instantaneously it's going to impact the core skilled occupation list, which is the key list that we use for the 482 employer-sponsored program. So
moving on to the National Innovation Visa, we've seen a very slow, very underwhelming start to 2026. Not a whole lot of momentum in regards to the National Innovation Visa, but we are seeing states slowly opening up their programs, which is a positive step in the right direction. Just to give you a bit of a snapshot, so since the program opened, we saw 8,000 expressions of interest lodged, and we saw 304 invites.
Issued,
Not many.
Not many, no. Look, the Global Talent Visa that used to be the program, now known as the National Innovation NIV program, is close to my heart. I really enjoyed working with the high caliber candidates when it was the Global Talent Visa program. At the time then, they had 5,000 places allotted to the GTI program, which was good, and the government was willing and proactive, and they were fast. They had talent attraction officers tapping people on the shoulders or giving people priority. Then government changes, all anticipation, that went away, and then now the NIV. Obviously, Victoria and New South Wales were the first ones, they always are, in anything related to sort of state sponsorship for them to open up their program. Although actually South Australia was pretty early on too. So with the 3 states, and then Queensland coming to the table late last year.
So we're still waiting for ACT, WA, Northern Territory to open. So there are some states still lagging behind. But my predictions for the year moving ahead, as all the states open up their programs, I feel like it is going to increase competition, which is going to make the states vie for those high caliber candidates. And I think we're going to see a lot more invites issued over the next 12 months. So don't give up on the program. It's a slow start, but it's gaining traction. It's a positive outlook ahead for sure.
And to touch on the process, now that the state governments are involved, is that you will have to lodge what's known as a register of interest with the state body first for potential consideration of priority to be sent to the federal government for your expression of interest, the EOI. So the state government basically said, if we are wanting to support a candidate that's fitting the criteria of the state nominated requirements, then they will push the federal government to turn these applications around. To give you some timelines, if we can get priority, I think it's looking like an invitation within 1 to 3 months. And then once we lodge a visa, like within 1 to 3 months as well, getting to permanent residence. So it's still very attractive if you're invited to apply for the program. So like Zach said, don't give up on the dream. Reach out to us if you want to have a chat. They're going to do a proper consultation. Please do know that the bar is quite high, so it's going to not be one for everyone, but the top echelons of the professions.
All right, moving on to the 190 and 491 visas. Not an area we work a whole lot in, but just to quickly touch on some allocations for the financial year. So very top line figures, the allocations are down 23% from the previous financial year. Anything that stands out to you?
I mean, as a general migration program, the government had to really look at all the different programs that are available. I think with the 482 transitioning onto the 186 TRT, with those changes that took place in November 2023, allowing everyone that's on the occupation list have a pathway towards PR, I think the government gave that a bit of consideration and shifted maybe more to sort of the ENS, employer-sponsored side of things, and therefore less to the state and territory. So that might be one of the reasons why. I feel also because Australia have sort of recovered a bit more from COVID, like as in there's a lot more temporary visa holders in Australia. So I think that might be why the allocation's down a little bit. What that means is it's highly competitive. Each state and territory had their own focuses last year, or even a bit of this year. They picked people outside of Australia if there were certain occupations at a certain point level. You know, there are still kind of key areas that Australia have a critical shortage in, which is education, healthcare, construction is the third one. So these are the three kind of target areas. So if you're a trade, you can probably be invited at lower points, at 70, 75. And then specialist doctors, allied health professionals, nursing, teachers across all the levels. So that's early education through to primary to secondary. If you're sort of in those cohorts, maybe reach out as well. We can kind of give you a consultation so that you understand clearly what your pathway is. The line that I like to use with all candidates that want to consider the state sponsorship or when an EOI is involved, it is a good to have option, but not a guaranteed one. At Tech Visa, we deal in the definites here. We don't really kind of lead you down on a journey. Reach out if you want to chat. I think Zach will put in the description or the comments sort of section of the video is for us to also share with you guys a little bit on the invitation rounds from Skill Select for the 189, which is a direct invitation program through the federal government. So it doesn't involve a state or territory.
All right, on to everyone's favorite topic, and probably one of the questions we get asked the most here at Tech Visa is in regards to processing times. Obviously, as we all know, the department does have a processing times indicator on their website, but I just want to get a bit of an insight as to what you're seeing come across your desk. So we look at SBSs, 482s and 186s.
Sounds good. My kind of sympathy for clients waiting is just they've been waiting for a long time, and I want to cast us back to when we first talked about the skills in demand 482 visa when it was first launched. The government came and said, we're going to be really aggressive. It's going to be one of them agile programs, fast processing. If it's specialist stream, high salary, we'll do it within 5 business days, and then a couple of weeks for a core stream. And it did happen. Look, the government did do it. I think they underestimated the demand. And now it's just reverting kind of back to old ways. Look, the sponsorship, which is the first piece for any business to set up, used to take 1 to 2 weeks, 3 at max. Now it's about a 2 to 6 week. And I've had one recently that went to 3 months processing when there was no active nomination or there was no linked nomination as a second application. Nominations to facilitate the transfer of a employee between like a change of employer is still prioritized. So those normally get looked at within 1 to 3 weeks from lodgement. So those are still good. So if you needed to take up a new role or a business to nominate you for a new sort of position, then that's all fine. But core skills, if you're nominating someone who is under that salary threshold of 142,000, I think 150 on the top of my head, you're looking at 3 to 6 months now. So if you have a candidate outside of Australia and there's an urgent need to start a project, maybe reach out so we can kind of strategize and give you some options and then be able to kind of work through that together. But if it's a specialist pathway, so where they have the higher salary of over the 142,000-ish mark, then it's about a 2 to 4 week processing. It's still quite good. Look, kudos to the department trying to keep to their promise. The 186 visa is obviously, like I touched on earlier, with more and more people eligible, the wait line or the queue is getting bigger and bigger. So it's pushing 19 months now. Another prediction that processing time can get longer is that the department is also granting bridging visas associated with 186 where people are waiting for a decision.
Yeah.
For 3, and I've seen ones for 5 years.
Wow.
So.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for all the latest in Australian immigration news.